Welcome to This Explainer. Okay, today we are diving headfirst into a real linguistic detective story. We're going to look at the words we use every single day and discover why the rules we think govern them are actually just the tip of the iceberg. We're getting right down into the weeds of how meaning actually functions when real people communicate out there in the real world.
Let me ask you something. Are big and large the exact same word? I mean, your first instinct is probably to just nod your head. After all, if you look them up, they both broadly refer to size, right? They're classic synonyms. But I actually want to challenge that intuition today, because while they might share a nice, neat definition on paper, in the living, breathing world of actual communication, they behave very, very differently.
So, let's jump into our first section, meaning beyond the dictionary and the limits of definitions. All right, to really get this, we've got to ground ourselves in a core concept, semantics. Broadly speaking, semantics is how meaning works in language. Notice it doesn't just say what words mean, it says how meaning works. Semantics is all about the mechanics of language in action. It's the study of how a word's meaning shifts, stretches, and settles into specific patterns when we actually use it to talk to one another.
Which brings us to section 2, the synonym illusion, or when perfect matches fail. Think about these two phrases for a second. We've got a big mistake on one side and a large mistake on the other. If you say them out loud, the first one, a big mistake, sounds completely natural. It just clicks. But a large mistake, it feels kind of clunky, doesn't it? It feels noticeably off. Even if you don't know the exact grammatical rule, as a speaker, your gut tells you it's weird. Even though big and large supposedly mean the same thing, you just wouldn't naturally pair large with mistake in everyday conversation. But wait, let's look at the flip side. Now let's compare a large amount with a big amount. Suddenly, the tables have turned entirely. A large amount sounds spot on, totally normal. But a big amount? Yeah, that doesn't sound nearly as natural in most contexts. The correct synonym completely flips depending entirely on the word sitting right next to it. Crazy, right? So, here is the absolute crucial point. Words that seem similar in meaning are not always used in the same way. Theoretical similarity, what you find in a thesaurus, does not guarantee interchangeable usage in the real world. If you just swap synonyms blindly based on dictionary definitions, you're going to end up sounding pretty unnatural.
So, how do we actually figure this stuff out? That leads us to section 3, SKEL, the language detective, and uncovering authentic usage.
If the dictionary isn't enough to tell us how to use a word naturally, we need hard empirical evidence. Enter Corpus Tools, specifically a pretty amazing tool called SKEL. SKEL reveals authentic language used by real speakers and writers. A corpus is essentially a gigantic searchable database of real-world texts. We are literally talking about sifting through millions, sometimes billions of data points from books, articles, and spoken transcripts. Instead of telling you what a word should mean in theory, a corpus shows you exactly what human beings are actually doing with that word right now.
Okay, so how do we actually use this detective tool? Well, SCAML lets us compare 3 very specific things when we're looking at tricky pairs, like big and large. First up, frequency, like how often is the word actually used? Second, surrounding words. What neighbors does the word like to hang out with? Like how mistake prefers big and amount prefers large. And third, natural context. Where does each word just fit perfectly? By analyzing these 3 elements, you completely replace guesswork with hard, undeniable evidence of how language works.
Moving on to section 4, AI versus corpus tools and finding the real evidence.
In today's digital landscape, you might be thinking, hey, couldn't I just ask an AI about this? Well, yes and no. AI is fantastic for brainstorming or asking general questions, for sure. But as we're establishing here, AI explains language, while a corpus shows real examples. AI synthesizes theories and gives you rules. But a corpus, it doesn't generate an answer. It hands you the raw, unfiltered evidence of human usage. If you want to know what's truly authentic, you need the corpus. Which brings us to our final section, section 5. Context is everything, the true driver of meaning. Let's tie all of this together through 3 main pillars. True meaning goes way beyond a simple dictionary definition. It depends on context, the actual situation you're in, it depends on usage, how native speakers naturally apply the word, and it depends on patterns in real language, those invisible rules that dictate that big goes with mistake and large goes with amount. Language is absolutely a living ecosystem, and these 3 factors are what keep it breathing. So I want to leave you with a bit of a provocative thought as we wrap up this explainer.
If meaning isn't just a static definition in a book, if meaning truly depends on context, surrounding words, and subtle patterns of real human usage, what do your word choices reveal about you? Are you communicating naturally, or are you just treating words like interchangeable blocks? It is definitely something to chew on the next time you find yourself deciding between two words that seem to mean the exact same thing. Thank you so much for joining me, and happy exploring.